Well, hello there. Good evening. And it's later than I wanted to, but I was revising for an exam that I've got tomorrow morning, so I need to do this as quick as possible. It is day 57 of reading the Bible in a year, and I've got 5 chapters to do for first reading. Oh my word. Chapters 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Let's hope I can read it fast enough so I don't have to take all the time. The second pair of tablets. At that time the Lord said to me, hew for yourself two tablets of stone like the first, and come up to me on the mountain and make yourself an ark of wood. And I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you broke, and you shall put them in the ark. So I made an ark of acacia wood, hewed 2 tablets of stone like the first, and went up the mountain, having 2 tablets in my hand. And he wrote on the tablets, according to the first writing, the 10 commandments, which the Lord had spoken to you in the mountain in the midst of the fire of the day of the assembly that the Lord gave to me. Then I turned and came down from the mountain and put the tablets in the ark which I had made, and there they are, just as the Lord commanded me. Now the children of Israel journeyed from the wells of Bene Jaakan to Moserah, where Aaron died, and where he was buried, and Eleazar his son ministered as priest in his stead. From there they journeyed from Gujagar, from there to Jotbathan, a land of rivers and water. At that time the Lord separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord, to minister to him, and bless in his name to this day. Therefore Levi has no portion in inheritance with his brethren, the Lord his inheritance, just as the Lord your God promised him. At the first time I stayed in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, and the Lord also heard me at that time, and the Lord chose not to destroy you. Then the Lord said to me, Arise, begin your journey before the people, that they may go in to possess the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. The essence of the law. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you, but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul, and to keep the commandments of the Lord, his statutes which I have commanded you today for your good? Indeed, heaven and the highest heavens belong to the Lord your God, also the earth that with all that is in it. The Lord delighted only in your fathers, to love them, and he chose their descendants after them, and you above all peoples, as it is this day. Therefore circumcise and be stiff-necked no longer, for the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, and the great God, mighty and awesome, who shows no partiality nor takes a bribe. Sacrifices, offerings. He administers justice for the fatherless and the widow, and loves the stranger, giving him food and clothing. Therefore love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall fear the Lord your God, and serve him, and to him ye shall hold fast, and take oaths in his name. He is your praise, he is your God, who has done for you these great and awesome things, which your eyes have seen. Your fathers went down to Egypt with 70 persons. And now the Lord your God has made you as the stars of heaven in multitude. Chapter 11. Love and obedience rewarded. Therefore you shall love the Lord your God, and keep his charge, his statutes, and his judgments, and his commandments always. Know today that I do not speak with your children who have not known, and who have not seen the chastening of the Lord your God, his greatness and his mighty hand and his outstretched arm, his signs and his acts which he did in the midst of Egypt, in the Pharaoh to the king of Egypt, and to all his land, what he did to the army of Egypt and the horses and the chariots, how he made the waters of the Red Sea overflow them as they pursued you, and how the Lord has destroyed them to this day. What did he do for you in the wilderness until you came to this place? No, what he did. And what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben, how the earth opened up his mouth and swallowed them, their households, their tents, and all the substance that was in their possession, in the midst of all Israel. But your eyes have seen very great act of the Lord which he did. Therefore you shall keep every commandment I command you today. That you may be strong and go in to possess the land which you are to cross over to possess, and that you may prolong your days in the land which the Lord swore to give your fathers, to them and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land which you go to possess is not like the land of Egypt, from which you have come, where you sowed your seed and watered it by foot, as a vegetable garden. But the land which you cross over to possess is a land of hills and valleys, which drinks water from the rain of heaven, a land for which the Lord your God cares. The eyes of the Lord your God are always on it, from the beginning of the year to the very end. It shall be that if you earnestly obey my commandments, which I command you today, to love the Lord your God, to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, then I will give you the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your grain, your new wine, your oil, and I will send grass in your fields and for your livestock, that they may eat and be filled. Take heed to yourselves, lest your heart be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them, lest the Lord's anger will be aroused against you, and he shut up the heavens, that there may be no rain, the land yield no produce, and you perish quickly from the good land which the Lord is giving you. Is that why it's in a desert at the moment? Yeah, possibly. I don't know. Therefore you shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that your days and the days of your children may be multiplied in the land of which the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, like the days of the heavens above the earth. For if you carefully keep all these commandments which I command you to do, to love the Lord, then the Lord will drive out all these nations from before you, and you will dispossess greater and mightier nations than yourselves. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads shall be yours, from the wilderness of Lebanon, from the river of Euphrates, even to the western sea shall be your territory. No man shall be able to stand against you. The Lord your God will put the dread of you and the fear of you upon all the land where you tread, just as he said to you. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse, the blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and the curse if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, and turn aside by the way which I command you today, and go after other gods which you have not known. Now it shall be, when the Lord your God has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessing of the Mount Gerizim and the curse of Mount Ebal. Are they not on the side of on the other side of the Jordan, toward the setting sun, in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in the plain opposite Gilgal, beside terebinth trees of Moreh? For you will cross over the Jordan and go to possess the land which the Lord your God is giving you, and you will possess it and dwell in it. And you shall be careful to observe all the statutes and judgments which I set before you today. Chapter 12. A prescribed place of worship. These are the statutes and judgments which you shall be which you shall be careful to observe in the land which the Lord your God of your fathers is giving you to possess all the days that you live on the earth. You shall utterly destroy all the places of the nations, and you shall dispossess them. So you shall dispossess served their gods. On the high mountains, on the hills, and under every green tree, you shall destroy their altars, break their sacred pillars, burn their wooden images with fire. You shall cut down the carved images of their God and destroy the names of that place. You shall not worship the Lord your God with such things, but you shall seek the place where the Lord your God chooses out of all your tribes to put his name on for his dwelling place, and there you shall go. And there you shall take your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, the heave offerings of your hand, this offering, that offering, and the other offerings, the firstborn of your herds and flocks. And there you shall eat before the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice in all to which you have put your hand, you and your households, in which the Lord your God has blessed you. You shall not at all do as we are doing here today, every man doing whatever is right in his own eyes, for as yet you have not come to the rest of the inheritance which the Lord your God is giving you. But when you cross over the Jordan, and he gives you rest from all your enemies around about, so that you dwell in safety, then there will be a place where the Lord your God chooses to make his name abide. There you shall bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, sacrifices, tithes, heaves of your hand, choice offerings, and you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, and your sons and your daughters, and your male and female servants, and Levite who is within your gates, since he has no portion of inheritance with you. Take heed to yourself that you do not offer your burnt offerings in every place that you see, but in the place which the Lord chooses, in one of your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do that I command you. However, you may slaughter and eat meat within all your gates, whatever your heart desires, according to the blessings of the Lord your God which he has given you. The unclean and the clean may eat of it, of the gazelle and the deer alike. Only you shall not eat the blood, you shall pour it on the earth like water. You may not eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or your new wine, or your oil, firstborn of your herd or flock, of any of your offerings which you vow, and of your freewill offerings, and the heave offering of your hand. But you must eat them before the Lord your God, in the place which the Lord your God chooses. And you and your son and your daughter and your male and female servants and your Levite that is within your gates, and you shall rejoice before the Lord in all to which you put your hands. Take heed to yourself that you do not forsake the Levite as long as you live in your land. When the Lord your God enlarges your border as he has promised you, and say, let me eat meat, because you long to eat meat, you may eat as much meat as your heart desires. If the place of the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far from you, then you may slaughter from your herd and from your flock which the Lord has given you, just as I have commanded you, and you may eat within your gates as much as your heart desires. Just as the gazelle and deer are eaten, you may eat them. Unclean and unclean alike may eat them. Only be sure that you do not eat the blood. I already said about the blood. Only the holy things which you have, your vowed offerings, you shall take to go to the place which the Lord chooses. Observe and obey all these words I command you, that it may go well with you and your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the sight of the Lord your God. Beware of false gods. When the Lord your God cuts off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you displace them and dwell in their land, take heed to yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, How did these nations serve their gods? I will also do likewise. You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abomination to the Lord which he hates they have done to their gods, for they burn even their sons and daughters in the fire of their gods. Ugh. Whatever I command you, be careful to observe it, and you shall not add to it nor take away from it. Chapter 13. Punishment of apostates. If there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder comes to pass, of which he spoke to you, saying, Let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them. You shall not listen to the words of that prophet or the dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. And you shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him, to keep his commandments and obey his voice. You shall serve him and hold fast to him. But that prophet and that dreamer shall be put to death, because he has spoken in order to turn you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land. So you shall put away the evil from your midst. If your brother, your son, the son of your mother, or your son or your daughter, your wife or your bosom, or your friend who is as your own soul, secretly entices you, saying, Let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known, neither you nor your fathers, of the gods of the people. You shall not consent to him or listen to him, nor shall your eye pity him, nor shall you spare him or conceal him, but you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be first against him, and to put him to death, afterwards the hand of all the people. And you shall stone him with stones until he dies, because he sought to entice you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. So all Israel shall hear and fear, and not do again such wickedness as this among you. If you hear someone in one of your cities, which the Lord your God gives you to dwell in, saying, Corrupt men have gone out from among you, and enticed the inhabitants of their city, saying, Let us go serve other gods, which you have not known, then you shall inquire and search out and ask diligently if it is indeed true and certain that such an abomination is committed among you. You shall surely strike the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying it, all that is in it and its livestock, with the edge of the sword. And you shall gather all its plunder in the middle of the street and completely burn it with fire. And its plunder for the Lord your God, it shall be a heap offering. Oh, the whole city. Oh, my word. None of the accursed things shall remain in your hand, so the Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger, and show you mercy, have compassion on you, and multiply you, just as he swore to your fathers, because you have listened to the Lord your God, to keep his commandments, and to do what is right in the eyes of the Lord. Improper mourning. Chapter 14, the last chapter of this reading. You are the children of the Lord your God. You shall not cut yourselves, nor shave in front of the front of your head for the dead. You are a holy people to the Lord your God, and the Lord has chosen you to be a people for himself, as a special treasure above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. Clean and unclean meat. We've already said about that. You may eat ox, sheep, goat, gazelle, deer, goat, sheep, and you may eat every animal with cloven hooves, having the hoof split in two parts, and that chews the cud among the animals. These ones you may not eat: the camel, hare, rock hyrax. They are unclean. The swine are unclean. These you may eat of all the things in the waters that have fins and scales, Whatever does not have fins and scales you shall not eat. It is unclean. The birds you may eat. No, all the birds you may not eat. Eagle, vulture, buzzard, red kite, falcon, and the kite after their kinds, raven, ostrich, seagull, hawk, little owl, screech owl, lots of owls, jackdaw, another vulture, stork, heron, and hoopie, and the bat. Also, every creeping thing that flies is unclean to you. You may eat all clean birds, which are not listed. So must be chickens and ducks and geese and turkeys. There may be some others, I don't know. You may not eat anything that dies of itself. You may give it to the alien who is within your gates, and that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. For you are a holy people to Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Ugh. Why would anyone do that? Tithing principles. You shall truly tithe all the incense of your grain that the yield produces for the year. You shall eat before the Lord your God in the place where he chooses to make his name abide the tithe of your grain offering, and your new wine, and your oil, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. But if the journey is too long for you, so that you are not able to carry the tithe, or if the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far from you, when the Lord your God has blessed you, then you shall exchange it for money. Take the money in your hand, and go to the place where the Lord your God chooses, and you shall spend the money for whatever your heart desires, oxen or sheep or wine or similar drink, for whatever your heart desires you shall eat there before the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice, and you and your household. You shall not forsake the Levite who is within your gates, for he has no part in inheritance with you. At the end of every third year you shall bring out the tithe of your produce of that year and store it up within your gates. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the stranger of the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates, may come and eat and be satisfied, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hand which you do. And it's going on and on and on about all the laws which have already been written and read out, with some extra things. Right, I will leave it there for the first reading of day 57 of reading the Bible in a year. And I've got Psalm 5 to read next in the second reading.